Thomas felt left out. He tooted to his friend, but Percy was too busy having fun. He didn't notice Thomas. Thomas puffed on. He was upset. He didn't think it was fun at all. "Stanley will take your place in charge of the work at Great Waterton," added Sir Topham Hatt. This was the worst news ever for Thomas. He was so upset. Thomas didn't want to hear about Stanley. He was upset. "So I have decided," he added, "that Stanley will stay in charge and you will help him." Thomas's funnel flattened. Stanley was to stay in charge? Thomas had lost the most important job of all, the job he wanted more than anything else. But he didn't really like Stanley telling him what to do. Thomas chuffed unhappily to the freight cars. He wanted things back the way they were, before Stanley had arrived on the island. Thomas shunted lots of freight cars. Stanley had to take them up the steep hill out of the town to the wharf. "Thomas," he asked, "why did you shunt so many freight cars for Stanley?" Thomas felt terrible. He knew why he had done it, but he couldn't tell Sir Topham Hatt and the other engines. He felt too ashamed. So he said nothing. Thomas felt very bad. He puffed slowly away. Thomas found an old track. He wanted to be alone. "The other engines don't want me around," he puffed sadly. "They wish I wasn't here at all." Stanley puffed towards Thomas. He saw that Thomas looked sad and alone. "Thomas feels bad," he chuffed to himself. He felt very sorry for him. Thomas had let down Sir Topham Hatt. He had let down the other engines, and he had let himself down. The other engines started to chuff away. No one spoke to Thomas. He was no longer in charge, and he felt he was no longer wanted. "Oh, frizzling fireboxes! This tunnel is flooded!" he gasped. It didn't feel fun anymore. It felt scary. "I wish I was back at Great Waterton," he wished quietly. Stanley also knew how important Thomas was. He chuffed away thoughtfully. Stanley arrived at the sidings. A train of freight cars was waiting for him. But Stanley wasn't thinking about freight cars. He was thinking about Thomas. Stanley thought back to the day. Then Stanley remembered Thomas's face after the accident. "Thomas isn't a bad engine. He's a sad engine," Stanley puffed slowly. "I wonder if he has run away because he thinks no one likes him anymore. Maybe Thomas is hiding up in the hidden hills. I'll look for him there. I must tell him we all miss him." And Stanley whooshed away to the hills. Stanley was high up in the hills. "Where are you, Thomas? We miss you!" he whistled. But only his echo came back. "We miss you!" He was stuck. Thomas saw he had landed next to an old track. "But how am I going to get onto it?" he cried. Thomas could do nothing but wait and hope. Stanley had looked everywhere. He couldn't find Thomas. Soon he would have to go back to work at Great Waterton. Thomas was thinking about Great Waterton. He thought about the tower, and the moment Stanley's freight car smashed into it, and the tower tumbled down. "I wish I hadn't made Stanley pull all those freight cars. I didn't like him doing my jobs. And now look where I am. I'm a very silly engine," he puffed sadly. Thomas wished he was back with his friends. Stanley had to get back to Great Waterton. "I'll blow my whistle one last time," Stanley wished, and he whistled loud and long. Thomas had run out of puff. He couldn't whistle again. He could only wait. "No," tooted Thomas sadly. "I was trying to be a really useful engine." "Stanley," tooted Thomas, "I'm sorry that I was horrible to you. I was wrong, and I was silly to be cross that you were in charge. I want to be your friend." Stanley was a very strong engine, but pulling Thomas had been too much. Now he couldn't move. Stanley felt very sad.